can be what they were hoping for. The Rangers always knew that he was defensively somewhat deficient, but they figured that his speed and his puck distribution and his shot, his ability to put goals in the net would overcome whatever they would give up in the defensive deficiency. So if they give up, let's say, a half a goal a game, but they get a goal a game or a point a game or 2 points a game, 2 points would be ridiculous. But let's say they get close to a point a game and they give up a half, they're still on the plus side. So that's what they were thinking. He has a $6.65 million contract. He's 29 years old. The Rangers, if you look at their current roster, they have plenty of right defensemen, and they didn't at the time, this time last year. So it's an interesting situation. But lately, he's really been looking a lot better. I don't think he was tradable, let's say, a month ago. But now there may be some team that wants him. And with maybe a nice defensive young player that the Rangers get from maybe Zuccarello or Hayes, those trades, maybe Shattenkirk won't be needed as much. By the time the Rangers are going to be ready to be a team that is a Stanley Cup competitor, Shattenkirk will definitely be on the low side of his career.
Yeah, it's just really interesting that you brought that up too, and I look at it almost in the same view as you do as well. I think for me also it comes from that it would be beneficial if Gorton can trade a guy like Shattenkirk and even like a guy like Stoll, who's next on your list that we'll talk about, because that's also breaking up where majority of the Rangers' cap hits are coming on the blue line. And that's where some of it needs to be broken up so it could be allocated for some forwards that they plan to possibly bring in via free agency come the offseason.
Well, it's not just free agency. It's that they may need it for some of the contracts that are coming up on the forwards too. I mean, it really helps to have some cap space, and they have very little. So I just think that one of these guys has got to go.
I agree.
In addition to McQuaid. So I think McQuaid is only at $2 million. So he signed a 1-year deal. I hate to see him go, but he's 32 years old, and he's maybe we can get some picks for him. I think that would be the best thing, the best outcome here. I just don't think he's in their long-term plans. I don't think he's going to re-sign with them. So I think getting him off the team, unfortunately, I think would be a good thing.
Okay, so we know that it would be difficult in a world that lives in a cap space era with the NHL as they do, but the guy that you're also talking about on this list is Mark Stoll, who has absolutely kind of turned his game around. He's played a lot better. It was almost like we were seeing a Girardi 2.0, where Girardi was an Iron Man for years, then he had one bad year, and it's like the fans were going crazy because of the contract and things like that. And then, of course, the Rangers, he played better, but the Rangers kind of said, we got to buy you out. It'll help us in the long run when it comes to our cap. They did that. He goes over to Tampa Bay. Similar situation here. Mark Stoll had a couple of down years, had a really scary injury.
More than a couple.
Yeah, okay. And he's also locked into a bad contract as well. So how difficult would it be to move a guy like Mark Stoll? Do you see him? I know he's on your list of being traded, but is it more likely that he gets bought out in the offseason than actually traded?
I don't know that he gets either one, to be honest with you. If they can make a trade for Shattenkirk, maybe keeping Stoll on the team is the right thing to do. He's signed for Next year it'll be $5 million, then it'll be 4.2. He's got a no movement clause, so he's going to have a choice about this. He's having a really good season, and he hasn't had this kind of season since his injury in 2000. I guess it was 2011, 2012. So he's really come back. Why not? And he's an alternate captain. Why not keep him? I know they would prefer to get rid of as much as possible, but maybe Stahl stays.
Yeah, I mean, you stick around,
especially if they can get something for Shattenkirk, because the cap space that Stahl is going to be taking is going to go down in the next 2 years. So, well, Shattenkirk's is not.
Well, we'll just have to see on that. Now, before we kind of wrap this up with you, I got to ask you, because this has certainly come into the minds, and it's crept into the minds, and go back to last year, because you hear a report here or there, whatever the case may be, but I have to say it, and it's not a popular one, but Henrik Lundqvist, it's in the back of people's minds that, oh, at least the loyal Ranger fan wants him to go on and try to win a Stanley Cup, because they know it's not going to happen here as quickly as everybody would hope so. And he's 36 years old. He's getting up there in age, although he's not showing any signs of slowing down by any means.
Yes, he is. Let's be reasonable. Yes, he is.
I think that's where we differ a little bit. I think he's been the reason why the Rangers are where they are this season, as opposed to where they could be.
I agree with that. And I agree that he's still a top-notch goaltender. But to say he hasn't slowed down a bit, I think is just very optimistic. Okay? Just looking at it through rose-colored glasses. I think he has slowed a bit. I think he's an outstanding all-star top goaltender. And he's made adjustments to be able to play at a very high level. But I am not sure that if the Rangers were in the hunt for things, that I could be certain to put that guy in net every night and expect him to play the same way he did 10 years ago. Okay. I don't think you will get the consistency out of him.
Okay, that's understandable. My whole thing is,
so that he's not exactly what he was, but he's still a top-notch goaltender.
Yes. Now, my thing is that, like I said, it's crept into Ranger fans' head, and it's been asked now on multiple occasions. More recently, just the other day at the media day for the All-Star events, and I've seen it asked again at a fan event as well. Does Henrik Lundqvist, if the opportunity presents itself that he can go to a team, that if the Rangers find a team that is willing to, one, take on that contract, and two, give him the best opportunity to win a Stanley Cup, does he move? However, he has said, and he reiterated it just the other day, that he takes pride in being a New York Ranger, and he wants to finish his career as a New York Ranger. So he has said that over numerous times already, being asked, because it seems like it's popping up quite a bit here, and even the reporters are kind of sitting there like thinking, come on, like, do you really, really want to sit here and just continue to, unfortunately the defense in front of you doesn't help you as much. You have a chance to go win a Stanley Cup. That's why you're in this league, and you're going to go down as one of the best goalies, at least one of the top 10 goalies in all of hockey history, and you're not going to win a cup. So what's the likelihood that something changes in his mind within the next couple of weeks?
You want my percentage?
I just want your overall thoughts on that. And what
my overall thought is about 5% chance.
Okay.
He loves New York. It's not just the Rangers. I mean, if there was, if Tampa Bay said, and they're not going to because Vasilevsky's there, but if Tampa Bay said, we want Henrik Lundqvist, and somehow they made some sort of a collusion deal where they said, we want him for the rest of the season, and then we'll trade him back to you, and he won't have to really move and leave New York with his family. If that was a possibility, then I would say maybe. But there is no other team that is so far ahead that it could be almost certainly a Stanley Cup winner.
Okay.
I'm not sure just being a contender is what would be what Lundqvist was looking for.
Yeah.
Well, I think it'd have to be close to a sure thing, and he'd have to be able to come back. And I think the Rangers would be in serious trouble without him because they don't have anyone. I mean, you also have to think about the fan base and making money and bringing people in. While Lundqvist is here, the team is somewhat competitive. More than somewhat. I will go back to how we started, which is that they're over, 500.
Yeah.
So, well, if you consider that the losses, the overtime losses, if you get rid of that, all right. So they have a chance to win every game. They really do. They have a chance to win every game. You take Lundqvist out of the net, and they got a chance to win like maybe 10% of the games.
Yeah.
Maybe 20.
Well, it seems as if time will tell. So the next couple of weeks leading up to the trading deadline is going to be an interesting one on the New York Rangers' part. Leslie, of course, you think maybe three or four players being moved is going to be a tall task for the Rangers, but of course...
No. I think that's a lot of players. I think certainly that's a possibility. But I think that if 3 or 4 get moved, that it will change the tenor of the team, and it will be a big change. So, but I do think 3 or 4 is definitely a possibility.
Absolutely. Well, before we wrap this up, is there anything else you'd like to add, or at least get in on this first part of the New York Hockey Report and talking on the New York Rangers?
Well, I just what I do want to add is that there is going to be some interesting choices that need to be made in the coming days on defense. So, that we expect that Pionk is going to be coming back. I know Larry Brooks wrote about this a couple of days ago. Pionk had been playing with Stahl and been playing well, and now we've got Tony DeAngelo, who's really come to life. And do you want to change that pairing as Pionk, who's expected back this week, comes and takes the ice? So, and who do you take out? And Clausen's on the IR, and he's eligible to return too. So, do you take McQuaid out? You don't really want to do that. So there are going to be some interesting choices and changes that need to be made on D this coming week, and we shall see how it works. Maybe they'll trade McQuaid right away. I just really don't know how they're going to do it, but stay tuned.
Yes, absolutely. Leslie Treff, New York Sports Day. Always a pleasure to talk to you, especially when it comes to hockey, and I appreciate you taking the time here, spending with us and talking about the New York Rangers and where they are heading into the deadline.
Sure. It's great to be here.
You have been listening to part 1 of the New York Hockey Report. We will get another podcast up to you looking at both the Devils and the Islanders later on, maybe next week at some point. And then we're going to have Leslie come back on and give us a nice in-depth prospect look of the New York Rangers as some of the kids that are rising up through the organization and where they are and at their point. But until then, on behalf of Leslie Treff, I'm Joe Socccoa. We will see you next time.